Nina Totenberg, an award-winning legal correspondent for National Public Radio who has spent decades demystifying the Supreme Court with her in-depth and thought-provoking perspectives, was born in New York City in 1944. The eldest daughter of Roman, a beloved world-renowned virtuoso violinist and teacher, and Melanie, a real estate broker, Nina grew up immersed in a supportive and loving community that included two fellow high-achieving sisters. She shares a remarkable bond with Jill, the CEO of the Totenberg Group, a marketing and communications firm, and Amy, a senior judge of the United States District Court for the Northern District of Georgia.
Nina's parents both invested in her as a young girl and a young woman and trusted her. They believed in her, and that gave her the self-confidence and the ability to push ahead in a world of journalism where being a woman Supreme Court reporter was highly unusual. And as you can imagine, being a woman Supreme Court reporter for public radio, even more unusual.
An avid reader in her youth, Nina was drawn to the Nancy Drew book series and was especially fond of the fictional female detective's fearlessness. While Nina felt far from fearless, she credits the title character with influencing her decision to become a journalist so she could examine and uncover life's great mysteries. Nina enrolled in Boston University in 1962 as a journalism major to explore her investigative spirit. It wasn't long before she harnessed her passion for journalism on her own terms and began her career at the Boston Record-American, where she worked on the women's page writing articles about fashion and weddings. She also learned about the fast-paced world of breaking news as a volunteer in the news department and covered various topics to gain the diverse experience she desired. The only woman in the newsroom at the time, Nina was grateful for the opportunity to hone her craft, but felt the challenges of finding success in the male-dominated industry. Throughout her career, she has fiercely advocated for women in journalism and is a dedicated mentor to the young reporters and lawyers who have blossomed in their own professions under her guidance.
Nina, of course, has countless accomplishments, but the word that comes to mind when I think of her is trailblazer. And I don't know that I fully grasped just how much of a trailblazer she is until my career started to advance. And I saw how tough it is at times for a woman in this business. And I can only imagine how tough it was for her when she started out.
After moving to Washington, D.C., Nina took a job at Roll Call, a small Capitol Hill newspaper, and later at the National Observer, a weekly newspaper where she served in various roles, including supervising newspaper publication in the print shop and covering hearings on Capitol Hill. It was there that she honed her now legendary expertise of the Supreme Court, which she covered with great skill during her 5 years there. An adept interviewer, Nina never shied away from asking the hard questions and learned everything she could about the judicial system along the way, relying on her inquisitiveness and wit to cultivate critical relationships in Washington. In 1975, Nina began working at National Public Radio as a legal affairs correspondent, covering a multitude of topics, including the Supreme Court, the Justice Department, the House and Senate Judiciary Committees, and the intelligence community. Widely regarded as the dean of legal journalists, today her reports are regularly featured on NPR's All Things Considered, Morning Edition, and Weekend Edition, and she has become known for getting the stories others can't.
The thing about Nina is that she can talk with anyone. She's not interested in politics, she's interested in people, she's not interested in winning an argument, she's interested in explaining it. And so the most amazing times are when you're at dinner with Nina Totenberg and with the late Justice Ginsburg or the late Justice Scalia, no matter how different their politics, senators, congresspeople, people from the White House, her ability to engage, be respected, be trusted by, talk with anybody and generally get them to say things that they shouldn't is incredible.
Nina is fearless about talking to people and trying to get people to answer her questions, to tell her what she wants to know. I mean, both Cokie and I, who sat on either side of her in our offices at National Public Radio, were every once in a while just completely, we would find ourselves sitting, looking at Nina with our mouths hanging open, thinking, oh my God, I would never dare do that. She would keep asking questions and keep asking questions. And she would back the person she was talking to into some kind of a corner. And then there they were. I had never been able to do that. I had never done it. But Nina showed me how.
When I was at the San Francisco Chronicle, I reported on local politics, and all of these politicians would constantly get furious with me. I would get these angry text messages and voicemails at all hours of the day, and they made me quite upset. And Nina, in that fierce way that she has, she said to me, your job isn't to please your sources. Your job is to serve your readers. And it's a lesson that I've always carried forth with me.
During her career, Nina investigated stories about the Watergate appeals and Supreme Court Chief Justice nominee William Rehnquist's opposition to the Equal Rights Amendment. In 1991, Nina's skillful and dedicated reporting changed the future of sexual harassment claims in the workplace. Her groundbreaking report on Anita Hill's allegations of sexual harassment against Judge Clarence Thomas led the Senate Judiciary Committee to reopen Thomas's Supreme Court confirmation hearings to consider Hill's charges.
I think Nina changed things for lots of people, lots of women especially. Now, she would probably never, she would never take that kind of credit for it, but I think she did. I think she pushed us all toward the notion that women should be able to be safe in their own workplace, should be able to do and say what they want without having to be hassled. Now, of course, it didn't stop the hassling, but it did cause, I think, the whole country to sort of turn away from the idea that they should always get away with it.
Nina's gavel-to-gavel coverage of both the original hearings and the inquiry into Hill's allegations, as well as her exclusive interview with Hill, earned NPR the prestigious George Foster Peabody Award. She considered it one of the great stories of any reporter's life, and she worked tirelessly to get it.
She makes the driest of cases come alive. She covers both sides in the most fair way, and sometimes being the subject of her coverage, I will tell you that her reactions are sometimes counterintuitive. She is ethically a first-class journalist, and when covering those stories, the listener can't help but say, this decision could make a difference in my life. It is really a marvel that she turned Supreme Court coverage on its head and initiated and created, long before anybody else did so, a kind of coverage of the court that made its work important to everyday Americans.
Nina's coverage of the Supreme Court and legal affairs has earned her every major broadcast journalism award. In 1988, Nina won the Alfred I. DuPont Columbia University Silver Baton for her coverage of Supreme Court nominations, and in 1998 became the first radio journalist to be named Broadcaster of the Year and honored with the Sol Taishoff Award for Excellence in Broadcasting from the National Press Foundation. She is also the recipient of the American Judicature Society's first ever award, honoring a career body of work in the field of journalism and the law.
She has the most generous and fulsome laugh. When she laughs, you absolutely have to laugh with her. She sees the humor in life. She sees the upside. She's a glass half full girl.
If you ever get the chance, ask Nina Totenberg to sing for you, because if you think she's a great journalist, you have no idea what you're in for. She is an unbelievable, essentially operatic, angelic singer.
Nina hums when she is happy. She is an absolutely amazing singer. She's also a boggle master with the biggest vocabulary of anybody that I know. She's on the first name basis with basically every salesperson at her favorite stores. And for 20 years, she drove this battered, beat up Toyota Corolla that nobody could believe that this superstar reporter was driving such an old car. She finally exchanged it for yet another Toyota Corolla. She is the slowest and the most persistent swimmer that I know, and she is an absolutely fabulous cuddler.
On behalf of the ChIPs organization, we would like to congratulate Nina Totenberg on her extraordinary career and induction into the ChIPs Hall of Fame.
Congratulations, Nina, on your induction into the ChIPs Hall of Fame. Thank you for all of your contributions to women in tech, law, and policy.
Nina, congratulations on being inducted into the ChIPs Hall of Fame. I've been doing Hall of Fame and Lifetime Achievement Awards for you for now a quarter century, and I think it's about time to give somebody else a chance.
Nina, mazel tov for being inducted into the ChIPs Hall of Fame. It gives me great pleasure to do so.
Congratulations, Nina. You might not have a college degree, but I am so excited for you to be inducted into the ChIPs Hall of Fame. They couldn't have picked a better candidate.
So Nina, congratulations. This is a very important thing to be inducted into the ChIPs Hall of Fame. And we're all very proud of you.